So then we are back from the studies of the Aramaic English translation of the word, and then last video then was then given a few directives regarding then the prophecies of the end, and then also the scripture from the original manuscripts, and some understandings of the government and what's going on regarding then the elections. Truly is concerning these next 40 years, because these are going to be very decisive as far as either the recuperation of our country, or then we may face then civil war, because the situation is very critical. We are in the worst situation ever since the Second World War, and we should never take for granted the many liberties we have then earned these many decades. And then we have the privilege of having the original manuscripts from Hebrew or Aramaic, giving us then true positive indications, and then we can read the future and we can line up ourselves with it. So we should never be in a position where we would ponder of a candidate that does not have a clear plan of a economical situation, and when he was asked what is the plan, he couldn't answer it. IMF already said that we should even change our monetary system because the market won't be able to hold. So it's extremely critical. This time is not kids' play anymore. We must do it properly, so then we can come out of this huge crisis. And we must be also very adult in not trying miracle junkies, but being realistic, from the perspective of numbers, arithmetic, understanding the costs. We must come up with a plan that is original and also realistic for our times. So far from the candidate, we only find only blame, only pointing fingers, negativity, only negative areas. We understand the only positive point at the moment is the extraction of our own natural resources, and then usage of coal, and then more power plants. But it's very imperative, coming from a viewpoint of a person, for instance the president, came with a very wise report from an independent source of the calculations of our numbers. It is extremely important because it shows you he is very serious regarding governance. He's not playing around. Plus there is another factor, very disturbing, because he is a half black person. Have you ever pondered that there are people in our government enticing evil and trouble only because he's half black? Have you ever stopped and realized how evil these scoundrels are? Enticing problems and amplifying problems, being against the plans. But then the more evil they tried to place on his path, then he went to the independent sources and he got numbers realistic of the moment. So what they tried then to work for evil, he turned around for the best. And as the economy then slowly is coming back from the plunge it had taken, we have to maintain a position where we understand the growth of our economy is very slow because of the plunge it had taken. But it is stabilizing. What we can't do is trust a person who doesn't have a defined plan. You ask regarding the economy, oh yes, has experience with trade, oh that's great, but what is your plan to get under the control? And a person doesn't know. How are we going to trust? We have only this time to get it straightened out. It is imperative doing it properly this time in maintaining the government very calm, steady, consistent. And then obviously a person would be able to understand what not to do given the circumstances. So we can't play around with big numbers. Understanding our economy is at risk. While the government is trying to find schemes against the president because he's black, then he did properly. He went to independent companies and let's do the numbers. Now they are trying to be excited with a candidate that doesn't even know what the plan is. It shows the evil of many of these people in this government. So a person can conclude, boy, they are working against him. For what reason? Only because the color of his skin? Had to be joking. So then let's do it properly and vote for Obama, giving him another chance. At least he would have time to place his plan in order, because so far he had to straighten out junk from the past. Had to pay debts. Had to be responsible for many of the situations he didn't even create it. He barely had time to plan of his own agenda. Then the other candidate's extremely hyper. Not answered the question, doesn't know what the plan is, doesn't know the numbers. Extremely hyper. Can't trust a person with hyper personality and then trying to work a situation, and then what is the situation? Then he doesn't answer. He must be realistic. President Clinton, he went on television on a computer and he gave a very short briefing of the numbers. And he had a very nice presidency in the 90s. He was in a very nice position back then. And he is for Obama, so what do you think we should do understanding President Clinton's presidency? Vote for Obama. He knows what he's talking about. Because we can't make a mistake. That's why the president wisely went to the independent sources to do a thorough study. In other words, a complete study from A to Z was done and nothing was left. He's absolutely positively sure. So then we vote for him and let him finish his agenda. And then the candidate was speaking of, oh, he's going to crack down on China and speaking boldly. And what is the plan that you are going to put this information that you only gave us under the control? What plan do you have? Then he doesn't have any plan because it doesn't exist. And then manufacturing, China is having products that's very cheap. We can't compete with them. The president's idea is very great. He's trying to work with a higher end equipment. But then he is wise in what not to do. But then the people, they get mesmerized with plans and try to do so much, and we don't have the means to do those plans much more because we don't even know what the plans are. So are we going to vote for him because he has white skin? It's crazy, insane. Never saw this in my entire life. Coming in a president, how do you going to do this huge adjustment and the person doesn't answer? Oh, I know what to do, but what is the plan? Then he doesn't answer. But then you said this, that, and the other, and how are you going to do those? And he doesn't answer. What do you conclude? He doesn't have any plan. He wants a government of blame. Then he takes over, then his plan doesn't work. And then he says, oh, it's because of was the previous president, because the previous president this, that, and the other. Yeah, plan doesn't work. That's blame. But then he confirms that he knows what to do, but what is the plan? Then he doesn't answer. So we should be a bit more humble and humble ourselves a bit and then maintain our government as it is. Nice and quiet, easy, so we don't cause trouble, because people, the citizens, can cause a lot of trouble when they don't understand what they are doing. How would you realize yourself if you are given a job of responsibility, then you step into your responsibility, and then you find on your desk over there you have a pile of debt and so much money? And then to start up your job, you have to take care of those debts first, and then you have evaluate then what's causing those problems. You have to come up with the jobs to take care of them. You have to come out of the crisis. That's quite a lot. It's not very realistic. And then a person barely has any time to do the agenda. And then comes in a crazy candidate that doesn't even know what he's talking about. Truly, how are you going to do what you are saying? No answer. So then wait a minute. Either we are retarded, or we don't listen, or he doesn't have any plans. Because it was asked, what is the plan? No plan, but he knows what to do. So what is it? No plan. So are the people going to join up in his stupidity? And then throw our government in a civil war by the end of the next 4 years? You must understand a democratic agenda because it's very realistic. He is speaking of a person that was very prosperous during his term, proper numbers, very nice and clear, and the plan is laid out precisely as people should hear it. What do you have from the other side? No plan. Lots of promises, lots of big numbers. How are you going to do what you are saying? No plan. So why are people, they get excited regarding this candidate? Only because the color of his skin? Come on. You must maintain democratic and be very quietly transitioning this time. The minimum trouble we can ever cause is being quiet, cast our votes properly, vote for Obama, nice and quiet, and maintain the agenda. In the next 4 years, then we level our economy, then we can take on the outside work. Because it's absolutely insanity. Twice, both of the debates. It's absolutely insanity. Comes in a person with the very core of the engine of the idea, so to speak. What is your plan? Then a person goes out on a tangent and then speaks of other areas around it. What is the main core? How are you going to make those numbers to work with what you have? No answer. But then he gets bold when it comes to the other problems of the existing situations. Okay, you can be a bit upset, understandable, but how are you going to resolve it prior of being upset? No answer. Comes the second debate. And then big numbers. How are you going to resolve them? No answer. So either the people are retarded or they don't listen.